high-ticket coaches leave over 6 figures a month on the table every single month. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how and how you can avoid doing the exact same thing. That's some clients I've worked with, 140K, 75K, 33K, to show I'm not laughing. Look, the problem, which I've noticed often, is that people think it's the offer. The problem is rarely the offer itself. Look, most offer owners and operators misdiagnose, and they'll try to scale past their inconsistent month with running more ads, posting more content, doing more outreach, and worst of all, even changing the offer itself, which I always recommend again, majority of the time. Because typically the issue runs further than the funnel. I'll give you an example, right? Some people will see a low close rate and they'll decrease prices because of it. But sometimes you have to look at the quality of your lead, entering the funnel, but you could change in your messaging within your marketing to attract better quality and create a higher buying intent. I highly recommend against this majority of the time, but I do see it happening quite a lot. I see the same 3 caps constantly, whether it be my clients when I've initially signed them, or the offers within my network that I've observed. Some bottlenecks in your business cannot be seen on a dashboard. So in this video, I'll be breaking them down and explaining to you how to spot them yourself to avoid making these mistakes. That way you can scale past consistent or inconsistent months, making the danger zone of around, 20 to 50K, which I see a mob off the on. State, I like to should not count. On offer owners, they'll post content often, get high engagement, viral posts, and on a consistent basis, but their Stripe account is growing cobwebs and they're sitting there confused. Why? Because you've been lied to. Views are not the stat you should be looking at to see how well your content is performing. You see, every buyer phase, right? Path, I should say. Unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, and most aware. Most viral content that you post only ever moves people. Let's do. Right. 50,000 people can watch your video and still just be aware that you exist and nowhere close ready to buy. The fix is not every video is about reach. Some content has a job and it's to move some people from one stage to another. So perhaps deeper in the buying path, right? Generating views is not the goal. Building an audience of qualified buyers is. I'm sure you know this, but if all you post is top product content, value-based content, all you're realistically going to do is create an audience which is entitled and wants constant value. So they want constant value from you, or an audience that has no urgency or willingness to buy, or both. Posting your Lamborghinis constantly, posting insane value will actually end up harming your business, despite it generating quite a lot of eyes on it. Because ultimately, you're not generating the audience that is willing to buy from you, the audience that trusts you enough to buy from you, and it leaves you in quite a dangerous position, right? And it's not your fault, but trust. People say we're in a trust session. You could very much argue that, because every time you go online, see coaches, consultants, and experts selling online, people need to consume hours of your content just to consider buying them, right? So the same audience that used to buy one good video now hesitates before they even finish watching it. Look at the likes of Samuel Leeds, property guy within the UK. I'm sure many of you know him. Selby Sapp, sales trainer, massive. TJR, also massive trading coach, right? There's a stat for this, which I put a picture for here, but let me explain. Before someone buys from you, they need roughly 7 hours of watch time across 11 touch points on 4 tabs. So every post, every video, every DM is 1 touch point, not the whole relationship. And that's not a small number by accident. Trust isn't built in one video, but it's built in layers. There's enough moments that someone actually stops seeing you as content and start seeing you as someone that they actually know. Always want to build somewhat of a parasocial relationship, so people believe they can trust you enough to hand over thousands of pounds. Realistically, right, when a video does well, that's only 1 touch point out of 11. The number is high because trust is high stakes. You're not asking someone to like your post because realistically, you don't really care about like. You're asking them to hand over thousands of pounds. And it's going to take a lot more effort than you realize to do that. So content that you neglect posting because it doesn't have a 5x outlier mark on your YouTube videos and you think, oh, it's not doing well because it only has a few hundred or few thousand views, is the same content that would have converted half your pipeline from, I need to think about it, to actual buyers within your program. I don't think the guy here is suggesting 5 views on this video, but little does he know that out of those 5 views, perhaps 3 of them converted upon watching it. Client interviews, objection handling videos, behind the scenes. None of these are built for reach, and I'm sure you know that when you post them, they're not getting as many views as some of the other content, but they're built for the person who's already closed and just needs that little push over the line. just to get their last doubts removed. Client interviews, you typically want one for every single ICP and niche situation. So no one watching could say that their situation is different. Objection handling videos, which I'm going to touch on a bit more later, but take the actual objections that you get from sales and answer it directly on camera. Guess at what people are actually thinking. Behind the scenes content, what running the business actually looks like day to day and not just the result. People trust you so much more if they know what you are like, typically when the cameras aren't rolling. And the general lesson of this entire almost mistake section is don't obsess over views and engagement, as each content serves its purpose. Build a content ecosystem designed with variety, designed to move eyes across the stages until they buy. That way, you convert your pipeline efficiently. And upon doing this, now you're able to scale comfortably with volume and ads. Never content or ads. It's both, right? But you need to build an ecosystem that works well. That like ICP leads is a much better stat to track than views or some other numbers that you're probably looking at. Although it's harder to track, it's a much more convincing and a representative number, representing how many leads that you're getting from the videos that you're posting that look like the type of leads that buy and are the most high converting within your funnel. The best example of this would be, this is basically Breast Scale channel. I'm sure you guys know him, freelance brand scaler. That's the type of say he should, right? He posted 2 videos on here, I believe his second account, ROAS Breast, and these are the 2 most recent videos, so you can't say I'm cherry picking. Look, 10k views, 70k views, right? A day with a 21-year-old millionaire, typical Miami guru posting his lifestyle, and the next video is a client interview. Most coaches would look at this and be like, okay, this video did 70k views, so it's obviously performed better. But when I tell you that this video here, client interview, I can assure you, generated him so much more money, simply because of the fact that it handles so many objections. A lot of people watch this video, resonate with it, and then convert upon watching it. So don't be turned almost off by the fact that your videos like this will generate a ton of less views, but understand that it's all part of building your content. So I'll move over to mistake number 2. All right, mistake number 2, the commitment cliff. So in this mistake, I'll be talking about the 2 times in your funnel, the 2 moments in your funnel where someone commits, right? Booking the call, so post-booking, and paying. And right now, they're the most unsure they'll ever be within your funnel and the most watched by their own doubt. These 2 time periods within your funnel either make or break deal, because that's also the moment that buyer and so that tend to see people making and a mistake that you yourself might be making, right? Those moments should be where trust speaks, but instead they're where it's dropped. So someone books a call with you, they've made a decision, but the standard is silent. Maybe a few calendar invites, maybe a few basic emails, then nothing until the call itself. So think about it like this, right? Someone has just booked a call with you to hear you out on your program that they understand that they might have to invest into, right? Logically, it's going to cost them quite a bit of money. During that time period of waiting for a call, what are they going to be doing? They're going to be researching, they're going to be thinking. All that time, all that will happen is that doubt will build up. And if you let doubt build up for a consistent amount of time, it has nowhere to go but up, right? By the time that call happens, they might not even show up anymore because right now, they're unsure of the decision they've made because they've had so much time to just overthink it. So even if they do show up, you're not even confirming your decision and helping them make one. You're essentially going to be reselling them on the decision that they were making earlier on. So same as on pays, the same gap opens up, just quieter. Everything before the yes was warm, personal, and direct. But all of a sudden, nothing else to expect and lose clarity. I need to stop throwing so many arrows, but the 48 hours after a prospect books a call with you or pays you, it's the most, a ton of negative feedback, right? Constant refunds and chargebacks, low PIF rate. I mean, look at this guy in the picture right here. Let's just call him Bill. Let's say, buyer's remorse. Has a snake, wishes to exchange it for a goldfish. You don't want your buyers to be like Bill. You want them to have full conviction on what you've bought. Otherwise, they don't show up. Non-stop objections on sales calls. Fulfillment becomes a headache, which most people don't even correlate to those 2 time periods. Low PIF rate and constant refunds and chargebacks, right? Half the issues you face with your business, I can promise you, can honestly be linked back to your post-booking and your onboarding process. Issues that you would have thought had no correlation. Most people don't understand that. Perhaps a student whose fulfillment is a bit of a headache, right? You might not understand this, but your onboarding process and your post-booking process for them has created a lack of conviction that seeps into your fulfillment. which makes them more of a bother to teach, which makes them more doubtful, less likely to take your advice, and overall just makes them a bit of a pain to work with, right? You do. Here's a couple things that you can implement into your business today, help capitalize in your post-booking and onboarding process. Number one, Warsama.G with the closure itself, introducing themselves. And to misspell that part. They won't go to someone that they've now met. Think of it like this, right? WhatsApp is a very invasive app by nature. The people that use for WhatsApp are typically your parents, your sibling, your loved ones, your friends. So naturally, now that they've met someone on WhatsApp and that your closers have introduced themselves, they're much less likely to no-show because no one really no-shows on people that they feel like they now met, right? Naturally, that's just how humans work. This one applies typically to like an application funnel. So obviously a confirmation page, which in my opinion is not the default, but I do see some offers not running one. A confirmation page with breakout videos, which are like small videos that handle objections, urgencies, and builds excitement for the call. A must need. You'll see your show rates skyrocket, right? Nurture assets sent manually by the setter. Have your setter send over ideal long form YouTube videos for a prospect situation. Client interviews, as well as other nurture assets like I typically like Gamma Docs, but just specific client interviews that match the prospect situation. For example, if your prospect is a postgrad, send a client interview from a postgrad, etc. Settle onboarding call on sales. This one is one that I feel like loads of people neglect, right? See the negligible, but a prospect immediately having something to look forward to, an actionable step to help reduce buyer's remorse. You want your prospect to immediately have something to look forward to. Otherwise, that brief time period after they paid you, now they're sort of waiting, and you don't want to have that lack of clarity because that lack of clarity kills the deal. Another one would be an engineer early win. It's hard to give an example of this because every niche and every offer is different. But all it essentially really is something small that they can complete or see progress on in the first few days. So the decision starts proving itself rather than they're just sitting there and confirmed. So every offer would have something different, but typically what you'll do is get like an early win quite early on. Email and SMS flows. Obviously, basically every offer does this. But what I've noticed that a lot of offers do is they use simple reminders. And if they don't, they're just using AI slot. But if you use them wisely and not just as reminders, you can weave in testimonials, link in long form content, handle objection, and build insane trust with the creator using your email SMS message. Do not waste them. They are probably one of your most useful marketing assets. Call within the first 5 minutes. I'm sure you've heard this before, but pickup rate is genuinely 300% versus, I believe it was, I'm not sure what it was, but it jumps 300%. Apologies. Versus by waiting 30 minutes instead of 5 minutes. And all it does is it kills the silence before doubt, gets the trust built. So if your sellers aren't reaching out to the opt-in within the first 5 minutes, make sure they are. And this is super high priority. Final thing, relatively simple, is just setting expectations upfront for what normal looks like. You want to make sure your closers are setting realistic expectations because if results take time, say so immediately. So that way, that silence in that week one that the prospect goes through doesn't get misread as neglect. And if countless will, look, I can't equal the source, but the general lesson is there are short intervals in your sales process that can make or break deals for you. Build systems off them. Build systems to capitalize off of them. Final mistake that I tend to see offers making is selling blind. Why should and why do people choose you over everyone else in your niche? Look, most people aren't sure with a guess, right? They'll tell me, my fulfillment is really good or my content's good and I actually care about my clients and, my offer is really strong. I promise you, everyone in your niche will say the exact same thing. I know this because I've got countless coaches and they all give me the same generic response, right? So you have to sit there and think, what truly makes you different, right? Because if your positioning sounds like everyone else, a prospect has no real reason to pick you first. They choose on price, timing, or whoever set a reply first. And in reality, this is super dangerous because you don't want to be in a position where you can't even answer this question to a high level. Because the real answer is never a guess, right? Already right in front of you. You're not using it properly, right? How? It's sitting in the conversations with everyone who's ever paid you. Every client that you've ever signed knows exactly why they chose you, but you have never bothered to ask. So set up something as simple as a buy and mirror form, otherwise known as like an onboarding form, that every client fills out for the reason fade. One question, well, there are a few questions, but one question will do most of the work for you. There are hundreds of other people who could help you get this exact result, but what made you choose me? This answer to this question is going to be so important because we're going to use that in your marketing and reflect it across your general messaging when you're talking to IC clients, because you want to understand why people work with you and how you can incorporate that to make sure other people get non-negotiable, not a call, not optional, every client, every time. So it becomes a data set instead of a one-off guess. Do the same with your sales skills, right? Your sales skill transcript are one of your most underrated market research assets. Your IC fears, objections, future outcome, all in detail on a bottom account that you hardly look at. That's right. I'm sure you've heard this so many times. Everyone gas up Claude, but it's really good. Dump your transcripts into Claude and ask them specifically for the most common objections stopping people from buying. The moment you understand the most common objections that stop people buying from you, all you need to do realistically is reverse engineer that within your marketing, within your messaging, and all those objections that were once stopping people from buying from you, you can now use it and capitalize on it and make sure that they no longer have these objections going into sales. The pattern will surface fast, and if using your content, you'll pre-handle objections before they even show up. So you'll get a lot more of a high blip rate and essentially a reverse of all the other negative connotations I was telling you earlier in take them to. But also track attribution and not views. This is really simple, but a lot of people neglect it. Use something like a UTM attribution tool to see which videos are generating the most book. If you know what content is booking, if you don't know, apologies, how do you know what to double down on? Like I mentioned earlier, the content that you least expect could generate you the most directly attributed revenue. Think of it like this. There's videos that have been posted 8 months ago that are still booking calls to this day. If you don't have any idea of what's booking, you don't know what to double down on. You don't know what type of content performs, or the content that you think performs may not be performing at a level that you realize. That video that has a couple million views could have generated you almost no money, while that video that had 50,000 views is generating you a ton of money. If you don't know what's generating the most money, you don't know what this, and you stop guessing. There's a ton of other things I can mention, but generally the general premise of this lesson is your content, your objection handling, your positioning are all built off what clients actually said, not what you assume. So that's the thorough line across all 3 mistakes. Not more content, more leads, or more spend, just fixing what's actually leaking. Fix those 3 and the funnel you've already built finally convert, and it will do what I've always been capable of. Because what you realize is that if you ignore all these 3 mistakes that you're currently making, what you'll be doing is pouring water into an empty bucket when you're running more ads, posting more content, doing more outreach, and you're not getting the results you want. What you'll end up doing is just wasting a ton of money and your time. You want to fix these foundations and make an offer that's built for scale. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like button or subscribe. Be posting a lot more content on this app, and I hope you guys got a ton of value.